Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. When you picture a paleontologist, you probably imagine someone out in the desert, covered in dust, chipping away at a rock with a hammer and a brush. It's a classic, adventurous image. But that image is quickly becoming a fossil itself. Today, the study of ancient life is undergoing a technological revolution. The most important tools are no longer just picks and shovels, but powerful lasers, high-resolution scanners, and artificial intelligence that would seem more at home in a crime lab. Welcome to the new age of digital paleontology, where the secrets of creatures dead for millions of years are being unlocked, not by breaking rock, but by decoding data. The term we use for this is digital forensics. Normally, that makes you think of cybercrime or data recovery, but the core idea is the same: using digital evidence to reconstruct past events. In this case, the crime scene is a fossil bed, the victim is an extinct organism, and the evidence is the vast amount of digital data we can pull from its remains. We're reconstructing the life, behavior, and evolution of creatures that vanished from the Earth long before our time. So how do these digital detectives work their magic? It all starts with the toolkit. Before any analysis can happen, paleontologists need to turn a physical fossil into a digital one. For centuries, if you wanted to see inside a fossil, you often had to destroy it by slicing it into thin sections. Not anymore. The first, and perhaps most powerful tool, is computed tomography, or CT scanning, which you might know from the medical world. A CT scanner uses X-rays to take thousands of 2D cross-sectional images, or slices, of a fossil. A computer then stacks these slices together to create a perfect 3D model, revealing not just the outside, but the complete internal anatomy, all without causing a single scratch. For really tiny fossils, or when incredible detail is needed, they use micro-CT scanning, which can see features just a few microns across. This is how researchers can peer inside a dinosaur skull to map its brain cavity and figure out how smart it was. They can examine the delicate bones of the inner ear to understand what it could hear. They can even find unerupted teeth hidden inside a jaw, or discover the fragile skeletons of embryos curled up inside a fossilized egg. This creates what we call a virtual fossil, a perfect digital twin that preserves the priceless original while making its data available to scientists all over the world. While CT scans are masters of the inside, other technologies are used to capture the surface in breathtaking detail. 3D laser scanners, for example, work by bouncing a laser beam off the fossil's surface. They measure the reflected light to map millions of points, creating a point cloud that forms a dense, digital copy of the fossil's shape. Portable handheld scanners allow scientists to digitize enormous fossils that can't be moved, capturing the subtle texture of skin impressions or the sharp edges of a tooth. For even bigger jobs, like mapping an entire dig site or a massive mounted T-Rex skeleton, paleontologists use LiDAR. By firing pulses of laser light, LiDAR creates detailed 3D topographic maps that help plan excavations and understand the geological story of the find. Then there's a more accessible method called photogrammetry, which creates a 3D model by stitching together hundreds of overlapping photographs taken from different angles. It's a cost-effective way to create photorealistic models with accurate color and texture. But perhaps the most visually stunning tool in the digital kit is Laser-Stimulated Fluorescence, or LSF. Pioneered by paleontologist Tom Kay, this technique uses a high-powered laser of a specific color to light up a fossil. The minerals in the fossil absorb the laser light and fluoresce or glow in different colors. When you look at the fossil through a filter that blocks the laser's original color, a hidden world is revealed. It's like a geochemical fingerprint. The fossilized bone glows one color, while the surrounding rock matrix glows another, instantly separating them. But it gets even better. LSF can illuminate the faint chemical traces left behind by soft tissues like skin and feathers. In one amazing case, LSF revealed the microscopic interlocking barbules on fossilized feathers, details that were completely invisible under normal light. Without it, scientists might have drawn the wrong conclusions about how feathers evolved. The technique is so powerful it can sometimes penetrate the rock, causing fossils buried just beneath the surface to glow, allowing paleontologists to literally see inside the stone without touching it. It's also an incredible tool for spotting fakes. Fossils from different places have different mineral compositions, so they glow differently. If a fossil is a composite, cobbled together from multiple animals, LSF will make the different parts light up like a Christmas tree. This suite of scanning technologies, CT, lasers, and LSF, forms the foundation of this new science. They are the digital eyes that create virtual fossils, ready for the lead investigator to take the case. Artificial intelligence. Once a fossil is digitized, we face a new problem: data. A single high-resolution CT scan can be made of thousands of individual images, containing billions of data points. Manually analyzing all of this is an incredibly slow and difficult task. This is where AI, specifically a type of AI called deep learning, comes in. Scientists are now training AI models to perform complex analytical tasks with superhuman speed and accuracy. One of the most time-consuming jobs in digital paleontology is called segmentation. This is the process of digitally separating the fossil from the surrounding rock or matrix in a CT scan. Because the fossil and the rock often have very similar densities, it's hard to tell them apart just by looking at the grayscale images. Manually tracing the outline of the fossil, pixel by pixel, slice by slice, can take a researcher months of tedious work. A lie turns this marathon into a sprint. Researchers are training a type of AI called a convolutional neural network, or CNN, which is inspired by the human brain's visual cortex. They feed the AI thousands of CT scan slices that have been painstakingly segmented by a human expert. The AI learns by example, recognizing the subtle patterns, textures, and edges that define fossil versus rock. Once trained, you can give the AI a brand new, unsegmented scan. It then applies what it's learned to predict on a pixel-by-pixel basis, which parts of the image are bone and which are rock. The results are incredible. In one study, researchers used AI to segment the delicate, fossilized skulls of embryonic Protoceratops dinosaurs. A task that would have taken months of manual work was completed in a matter of days. This frees up scientists from the drudgery of digital prep work and allows them to focus on the bigger questions. Beyond acting as a digital chisel, AI is also being trained to identify and classify fossils. Traditionally, this relies on the sharp eye of a specialist, which can be subjective. Now, AI models are trained on huge image libraries of different species. They learn the subtle differences: a specific curve in a vertebra, a unique pattern on a tooth, that separate one species from another. This can even solve paleontological cold cases. For 20 years, a single, puzzling vertebra sat in the collection at the Florida Museum of Natural History. No one could identify it. Researchers CT scanned the fossil and used a machine learning program to compare it to over 100 modern tegu vertebrae. The AI confirmed it was a tegu, but it wasn't an exact match. This led to the discovery of a completely new prehistoric species that lived in Florida 16 million years ago. AI is even learning to read dinosaur footprints. Distinguishing between the three-toed tracks of plant-eating ornithischians and meat-eating theropods can be notoriously difficult. But AI models trained on thousands of examples now outperform human experts at the task. This technology isn't just faster, it's also helping to standardize research, providing an objective benchmark that reduces conflicts from different human interpretations. Creating a beautiful 3D model of a dinosaur skeleton is amazing. But it's only the beginning. The ultimate goal is to resurrect the animal, not in the flesh, but in a dynamic, moving simulation. This is where the field of biomechanics comes in, combining the digital models with the principles of physics and engineering to test how these ancient creatures actually lived. The process starts with the digital skeleton. Researchers articulate the individual bones into a complete, jointed skeleton in 3D software. Then comes the tricky part, digitally fleshing it out. Muscles rarely fossilize, so scientists infer their size and attachment points from clues on the bones, like scars and bumps where tendons once attached. They also rely heavily on what's called the extant phylogenetic bracket. That's a fancy way of saying they study the muscles of the creature's closest living relatives. For dinosaurs, that's birds and crocodiles, to make educated reconstructions. Once the digital body is complete with muscles, organs, and even air sacs, software can calculate critical information like the animal's total body mass and, importantly, its center of mass. This is fundamental to understanding how it stood and moved. With a complete, fleshed-out digital model, the real fun begins. Scientists use an engineering technique called finite element analysis, or FEA, to see how a structure responds to stress. They can simulate the crushing bite force of a Tyrannosaurus rex on a virtual skull to see how the stress spreads through the bone, revealing its strengths and weaknesses. But to truly bring the animal to life, they use musculoskeletal simulation. Using the reconstructed muscles and the laws of physics, they can make the virtual dinosaur walk, run, and turn. These simulations help answer age-old questions. How fast could a T-Rex really run? And how did the massive, long-necked sauropods support their own colossal weight? A fantastic example of this in action is the study of Orobates pobsti, a 290-million-year-old reptilian creature that lived even before the dinosaurs. Scientists had a perfectly preserved fossil skeleton and, incredibly, a set of fossilized footprints believed to be made by the same species. A research team set out to reverse engineer its walk. They created a high-resolution 3D scan of the skeleton and built an animated digital model, like a marionette. They then programmed this digital puppet to walk precisely within the fossilized footprints, which dramatically narrowed down the possible ways it could have moved. To make the movement even more realistic, they studied the locomotion of similar living animals, like salamanders and lizards, using X-ray videos. Finally, they fed all this data into a dynamic computer simulation that accounted for forces like gravity and ground reaction. To top it all off, they even built a robot, the Orobot, to physically test the gaits and validate their digital results. The result was a stunningly realistic reconstruction of how Orobates walked. It revealed the creature had a more advanced and upright gait than anyone expected for such an early land animal, suggesting it was more mobile than we thought. The integration of digital forensics, AI, and advanced scanning is a fundamental paradigm shift for paleontology. It's pushing the boundaries of what we can learn, but it also brings new challenges and a thrilling vision for the future. The quality of AI analysis depends entirely on the quality of the data it's trained on. Building these large, expertly annotated datasets is a major bottleneck. There's also the cost. High-end CT scanners and supercomputers are expensive, which could create a digital divide between institutions. Ethically, questions about data ownership and access are still being debated. Who owns a digital fossil? Should it be open access for everyone? And there's a concern about devaluing human expertise. But the consensus is that AI is a tool to augment, not replace, human scientists. The critical thinking and creativity of a paleontologist are still essential. Despite the challenges, the future is incredibly bright. We can imagine AI becoming more proactive, not just analyzing fossils, but predicting where to find them by studying satellite imagery and geological maps. Robotics could play a bigger role, with intelligent drones scanning remote landscapes and delicate robotic arms meticulously cleaning fossils around the clock. The analysis will go deeper than bones and movement. Scientists are already using AI to analyze fragments of ancient proteins, which could tell us about diseases like cancer in dinosaurs. Soon, we might be able to reconstruct entire ancient ecosystems, simulating the complex interactions between different species and their environment. And finally, These digital fossils are democratizing paleontology. High-resolution 3D models can be shared online, allowing anyone, anywhere, to examine priceless specimens. Augmented and virtual reality will let you hold a virtual T-Rex tooth in your hand or walk through a Cretaceous forest. The hammer and brush will always have their place. The thrill of discovering a fossil in the field will never be replaced. But the journey that fossil takes from a piece of rock to a window into a lost world has been changed forever. This fusion of technology is causing a renaissance in paleontology. It allows us to see the unseen, to resurrect the dead in stunningly realistic simulations, and to understand the epic story of life on Earth with a clarity that was unimaginable just a generation ago. The digital detectives of paleontology are on the case, and the discoveries have only just begun. Thanks for listening to Fun Facts Online.